back in the fall and put some stuff in biochar, some stuff that wasn't in biochar, and we did a bunch of things. And then we had that huge frost. It was like a week straight of frost. And wasn't it a week straight, 2 weeks? I don't know.
It was quite a while.
It was quite a while. We thought everything, we had it kind of covered. We thought everything was just going to be dead. Well, lo and behold, everything was dead except for the stuff in the biochar. So we were like, okay, maybe this is real, you know? And so we decided that, well, for a lot of reasons. One is we sell gasification systems, so biochar is a byproduct of the gasification system. So if you can find another revenue stream, that makes the customers happy, makes us happy, and everything else. But again, there's a lot of bold claims, you know, this whole Jack and Beanstalk thing, you know, about biochar. So we really want to kind of figure out what it is and if it really is truly what they say it is. So most of you know, I'm not the technical guy. Matt, no, I got it. Good. So most of you know what we do. We make clean energy easy, accessible, and affordable for our clients. Why do we do it? And this is really important in all our products and services, and this will roll into biochar. Good job, Stuart. Get that peanut butter cup down quick. So it's economic development, energy independence, and environmental stewardship. Everything that we do, products and services, all work within that kind of three-legged stool. And we do the 3 E's because it's simple for me to remember. I do everything in threes. I can't remember past 4. So, you know, it's the why, how, and what we do. So, again, 3, that's on purpose. What do we do? Evaluate, reduce, and produce. So the idea is that we go in and work with people, and we look at everything that they do. We look at their habits. Are they open 24/7? Are they, what are their waste streams? What do they spend money on? And all those things. And we try to come up with an evaluation plan for them, including what data monitoring. So, you know, God we trust, all others provide data, right? We've all heard that. So we go through this evaluation process and we look at how can we reduce? Is it, you know, insulation, windows, is it power conditioning, geothermal, those types of things. And then finally we go to the production side of things, and once you reduce your energy, then we go ahead and produce. That just makes common sense, because if I can reduce your energy needs by 30 or 40%, my capital cost should be reduced approximately 30 or 40% to produce my needs. That's not exactly a perfect parallel, but it's close enough. I know that if I reduce my needs, I'm going to reduce my capital cost for producing energy. You can't get to net zero unless you're producing something, right? So you've got to go there. We've got a couple residential homes that are net zero. We've got a commercial company that's net zero financially. And then what do we do? Again, I mentioned all that energy monitoring. And so this isn't why we're here, but I just wanted you to know a little bit who we are. So that's who we are. My name's Harvey Avlad. I guess I should have told you that. I think everybody's got a card, everybody's signed in. And this is Marita. She's been helping me on the biochar. So really, I kind of want to know who you are. And I'm going to start with Ken. And just kind of name, company, quick interest, and we'll just go through the room real quick, and then we'll go to the next.
Sure, Ken Oaks, we have a nursery out in Canada, we installed a couple of solar systems 3 or 4 years ago, so we hit the sweet spot on some grants, so that worked out well. And we're interested in seeing what, how we got to go to use biochar.
I'm sort of, I'm Ken's dad. I represent the senior citizen interest.
In the biochar? Absolutely. And Dave Lillis, I guess, as well.
Okay, I'm Ernesto Zuleta from UT, grad student. I'm working in biomass, the clean oxidation.
I'm Sharif Culverson. I have a small environmental community planning firm out in Anchorage, and I'm interested in learning more about biochar.
My name is Evan Markle. I'm a PhD student in the Agricultural Economics Department, and my interests are in renewable energy and bioenergy in general.
My name is Nan Zhang. I am a graduate student in the Redison Center, and I'm interested in the effects of biochar on the microbial community.
Hi, I'm Debbie Wayhill. I'm also a PhD student at the Redison Center, and I'm into computational biology.
Jenna Lampier, I'm a PhD student in environmental sociology. I'm also a graduate research assistant for the UT Green Economy Initiative, and my interests are very broad, sort of all things science.
I'm Forbes Walker. I'm a faculty member. Biosystems Engineering and Soil Science. I'm actually a soil scientist. I work for UT Extension. My fancy title is Environmental Soil Specialist, which means I deal with all sorts of things related to soil management, the environment, water quality, etc. I've been working with Wamplers and Harvey for the last 2 or 3 years, and primarily starting with composting. Some of their waste streams, including biochar, in the mix. My graduate student here, I guess she'll tell you what she's doing, but we're starting to do some work in the nursery industry to see what effects biochar in the potting medium does in terms of increased water use efficiency, reduced need for irrigation, reduced leaching losses of nutrients as well as pesticides.
I'm Master University. I'm a PhD student in Biosystems Engineering and Soil Science at UT. And I have a project working on Biochar, and they pick up Biochar in nursery crops. And my interests are nutrient management.
Thank you. Yes, hi, I'm Andrew Laporte. I'm a PhD student in the Bredesen Center. I recently conducted a pyrolysis experiment using a material called red mud, which is a waste product from the food industry that can help the pyrolysis process. It's a toxic waste stream, but in that process it becomes carbon acid to biochar. So I'm trying to start a germination study using that biochar seeds to detoxify.
My name is Sindhu Jagadamma. I have a PhD in soil science from Ohio State University, and right now I am working at Oak Ridge National Lab and also UT Civil and Environmental Engineering. And my focus is specifically to look at the influence of biochar on greenhouse gas emission, mainly to see that as a mitigation option for climate change.
I'm Tom Stanzi. I'm the president of PhD Energy, and I make biochar. We're a gasification company. We started our company about 5 years ago, and I've been so busy trying to get a new company off the ground that I don't have too many other interests at this point in time. But Harvey and I have been working very closely together to promote gasification and then to look for opportunities and new revenue streams as a result of gasification. Doing so very successfully.
I'm Wayne Whitehouse. Since it seems to be an academic environment, Dr. Insurance Prudence, please call me Doctor. I have some solar investments in a city like this. I like to change good thoughts into good ways to make them.
I'm Marie St. Perez. I'm new to Knoxville, joined Harvey recently. I'm very passionate about gardening and finding sustainable ways of gardening. So I'm very happy and passionate to be doing semi-scientific experiment.
So again, I'm Harvey Avellada, and I'm going to go back to this whole thing of economic development, energy independence, environmental stewardship. That's the most important thing to us, is how do we put all these things together. And so, perfect time to introduce, because what I was getting back at is the whole Bredesen Center and that whole cross-disciplinary. So if you could just give us that kind of one-on-one and introduce yourself, that would be awesome, because this is what I'm getting at with this whole thing. And this program at UT is super exciting. We're very, very lucky to have it here.
Yeah, I'm Lee Riedinger. I'm a long-time professor of physics. I'm here 44 years. And now the last 4 years, we've created and run a new interdisciplinary PhD program between UT and Oak Ridge National Lab in energy science and engineering. And that's a lot of fun because I get to meet a new set of people in life, like Harvey, and learn about the creative things you do in the energy arena. And he's been talking to some of our students. And then I get to meet and work with a whole batch of very talented students. And some of them are here. Andrew, you're shaved.
Yeah. I didn't know who he was.
Right. Sorry. Donna and Debbie, you're shaved too. And then there's Jenna, who's not one of ours, but comes to our seminars. And Oh, and more people are here. And so, yes, that's who we are.
Well, thank you. Now, important, and you're going to have to introduce Shelley, and you got to get your peanut butter. Huh?
Can I come around?
Yeah, please.
Yes.
So, but just for the latecomers, you got to eat.
This is Emilio Ramirez. Ernesto. Emilio Ramirez Ernesto, right?
The peanut butter cups, again, the whole chocolate thing, it will release endorphins, and again, it'll make this much more interesting. So please make sure we get started. Ken says you might need more than one. Your turn.
For
The introduction to the group.
all right. I'm Shelley Kimmel. I'm a reporter at the News Sentinel, and I run our Go Green AT program, which recognizes area businesses that are improving their sustainability. I also run a monthly green report. ARiES all can help me with that. So I'm here to sort of see what you guys are doing and get some takeaways.
So again, when we go into a company and we look at any kind of systems, we got to look at the whole thing. There's a lot of arguments that solar doesn't work. There's a lot of arguments that gasification doesn't work. There's a lot of arguments that recycling doesn't work. There's all kinds of arguments about everything. But it's really, you got to look at the holistic thing. That's why this program, the Renaissance Center, is always so exciting to me, and it's a good one, because it's always looking at the big picture, taking a step back. It's not that one thing that's going to solve the problem, it's that combination of things, and that's what we look at. And I'll give you an example of a gasification thing that I'm really excited about. And it's the Knoxville Zoo. We did their feasibility study, and we didn't just look at their energy usage. We looked at the water usage, we looked at how they spent money, their material flow. So we did a material flow on their dollars. That's what we did. And we looked at it. And what did they do? They spend a lot of money buying nutrients, right? They get the nutrients, they feed the animal, get manure, and then they take that manure and they send it to the landfill. So they pay for those nutrients twice, right? So we looked at that, amongst other things. I mean, it's this long and it's just a lot of stuff. But here's the beautiful thing about that. If we took the waste from the city that they're paying $35 a ton to ship it over to get composted and then catch on fire, right? I mean, we've all seen the smoke. So they're paying $35 a ton. Well, what if the zoo got paid $10 a ton to take their wood, or $15, right? The city saves money. Ooh, economic development. The zoo's getting paid for their fuel, right? I pull up to the pilot oil, and the guy comes out and he says, not only will I pump your gas, I'll give you $50 to fill your car. You do that, right? You pull in there, I would. So you get your fuel paid for, and it creates this stuff called biochar. I've got manure, I can compost, I can take that manure and compost, and now I've got superfood. I've got another revenue stream. I've switched my whole process from a waste stream, an expense, to another revenue stream. So there's, again, economic development. And what? It's good for the environment, probably not going to catch on fire, all kinds of good things, taxpayers save money. The whole thing works together. But that one thing, the gasification system by itself, doesn't necessarily cash flow for that. But if you take the gasification system and you get the thermal off of it, and then you take the biochar and you mix it with the manure, all of a sudden now you've got an economic snowball that's just unstoppable. So we really want to learn more about biochar because we make claims, and again, I'm not the science guy, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a chemist. That's why we're having you here to help us with these things. I'm more of a parrot. So all I do is repeat what I hear. And I'm very good at repeating what I hear. Most of the time I forget a lot, but that'll be where Marita will come in and remind me that this. So there's all these claims, and we've been making these claims about biochar, but it's like, how do we get comfortable with ourselves? Plant hardiness, facilitate soil and microorganisms, increase the yield of plants, soil improvement, pH balance, durability and longevity. Carbon is supposed to last 100 years, right? It's not going to break down. Some chemists can tell me whether that's true or not. A reduction in fertilization, nutrient retention, reduced irrigation, moisture retention, reduces runoff, carbon sequestration. If it does all those things, why are we all doing it? It just makes sense, right? So, you know, we did a lot of research in trying to find, you know, just that study that says, here's all the things it does, and this is how we did to prove it, and this is why we know this is that. And there really isn't anything that we found that's just solid that looks at the whole thing and why it all works. So we conned Oaks Data Lily, probably arguably the largest data lily distributor in the country. Well, in Carnegie, for sure. You got that down. But kind of the beauty of it is they're doing a plot with biochar and a plot side by side without biochar. Now, it's not going to tell us a whole lot, but physically it's going to tell us whether the plants are different or not, right? So we're going to at least have some of that. Just like our fall garden, we had some of that. You know, we don't know why it did that, but we can say I have pictures, you know, and that's what it did, but we need something more. We need something that is going to be kind of indisputable, something that somebody can stand up to an argument and say why. And then we want to connect all those dots, not just dots about the chemistry or about the nutrients or all that. We want to connect the dots about economic growth. What does it mean to the economy? What does it mean to the jobs? What does it mean to food production? What does it mean to cost of farming? Does it mean farming will come back to the United States? I don't know. So how can we kind of connect all those dots and put them all together? And that's why we invited a whole bunch of different people that are going to look at this very differently. Now, we've got a couple people in New Zealand who's water quality and an economist and a lawyer, and we've got another guy in Florida. Is he at Disney World? I don't know where he is. Yeah. So, and an ag economist. And so we've got a few other people that I want to bring to the table. So we wanted to have this meeting to just kind of say, this is what we're thinking and this is where we want to go. How can we all work together to try to really pull this thing together and make it make some sense? And then from there, in the fall, get back together and go, okay, we've got this little trial garden out there. What does it look like? Oaks has had their results. What does that look like? We've all thought about these things. We've looked for grants. We've looked for investors. We've looked for whatever to finance some of this stuff. What does that look like? And then take it to the next level. So this is where we're at. Our thoughts on this thing is the use of biochar will decrease the cost of crop production and reduce energy needs while improving the environment. That's it, bottom line. That's what we want to set out to prove, and that's what we think, from what we understand, that's what it'll do. So it's just overall land management improvement. It's just getting in things in a denser area and getting more out of it for less money and taking advantage of waste streams. Keeping things out of the landfill, bringing them over here. Marite's been spraying this god-awful stuff on our plants that came out of the landfill. And the leachate is just unbelievable fertilizer. It's like, you know, this spinach for Popeye or something. So, the other thing that we kind of talk about a lot is this whole law of conservation of energy. Everybody's familiar with that. Well, apply that to dollars. Don't just think about energy, it's dollars, you know? And so if you can take that and say, where are my dollars going? Are they going out the window? Are they going to Australia? Are they going to West Virginia? Or are they staying in my community? So if we take those dollars and we can keep them, we can create a velocity of money. And so that's the other thing that we want to get out of this thing is what kind of velocity of money that we can create out of it. We're reducing the tax base. We're reducing the cost for a distributor here. That economy goes, right? So it all connects. So take your science side and apply that to dollars. Same thing. Anyway, so we went down and we looked at all these things and thought about it. And again, we're just trying to throw some ideas out there and get your thoughts on this. So, you know, economic development per acre, we can increase production revenue. We reduce cost per acre. Estimated cost reductions in fertilization, irrigation, reduction in soil supplements, all those are things that we think are supposed to help the economics. Regional cost benefits. What does it mean, biochar in Florida, kind of sandy soil, right, versus our clay versus New York, and just temperature. I mean, we've been around and around on this whole temperature thing. Why would frost affect Or why would biochar, how could it even help in a frost? And so you're talking about DNA soil samples and looking at microorganisms. I would have never thought of that, but sounds pretty brilliant to me. Maybe there is some real science into something that could withstand frost. If that's true, what does that mean to crops in Florida? What does that mean to economic development? So estimated yields, you know, in produce, orchards, ornamentals, does it affect things differently? I don't know. But what does that mean to the economics of it? Nutritional yields, and so that whole life cycle thing, it's like, how many calories did we put into that plant? And I'm talking about from the time we created the fertilization to the time we plowed that field to put a seed in, to grow it and water it. How many calories did we yield out of that? With biochar or without? So to me, again, it's kind of like looking at that whole life cycle of energy. Why don't we look at it as a nutritional value? Start to try to put things in terms that other people can go, oh yeah, we put 1,000 calories into growing this watermelon and we got hopefully 2,000 out. I don't know. So what does that mean traditionally versus non-traditionally? Failed crop prevention. You know, what is it really going to help? Like frost and those types of things. The other one, I guess the big one, and I wish Burton was here for this one, is tilling versus spreading. You know, I mean, if we have to till this stuff in, it's extra calories, it's more work, it's another process, it's another reason why not to do it. But if we can just spread it, wow, that's easy. So why wouldn't you do that? And so what are the difference in the results? Is it something that, you know, spreading over time, or is it you spread it once and it's not any good the first year, but the second year, holy cow, it's good, you know? And then versus tilling where you get immediate results, we all want immediate results. So if we can get spreading to get immediate results, that could be very interesting. So, and I know there's a bunch more, and we'll keep going on this, but I just want you to start thinking about those things and how can we ask the right questions. So energy independence, big deal to me. We fight wars over that. I mean, what do we fight wars over? Religion and energy independence. And I won't get on my soapbox because we're not supposed to talk about religion or politics. Is that correct? So, but you are not an independent nation unless you can feed yourself, you can power yourself, and you have water, right? You've got to be able to do those three things. So what does it mean in reduction? So fertilization, if I'm not fertilizing something, it means something about producing the fertilization. It means something about reducing transportation. It means something about the application of the fertilizer. All those things are all going to be energy reductions and parlay into this energy independence. Same thing with irrigation. I've got the whole application, I've got the treatment of water, I've got all that, and then I've got to do something with the water after it's done, you know, so we've got that going on. Soil supplement, again, production, transportation, application. And what's the killer in all this? Transportation, right? No matter what we look at when we start to think about, this is a great idea, recycling is awesome, or using this feedstock is awesome, or whatever it is, it seems to me that I always come back and I'm stumped on transportation. If I could just figure out how to get something for free from here to California, I'd be in good shape, you know? Hadn't figured that out, so where are we right now? We're in a place where we want to tighten that circle up. How can we use the waste streams and the products that we have right in our own backyard without having to reach across the country or reach across the water? I had a friend that was a broker for fertilizer, and odd job. I don't know of anybody else that does that, but he bought fertilizer all over the world. And I think he said something like 70% of the fertilizer that he bought was out of Russia. It's shipped all the way over here. Now, I don't know if that's true now, but it was true in the 70s and 80s. So, crop density, what does it mean per acre? You know, that type of thing. If we can get more out of a littler space and we have to do less to get it, then obviously that goes to energy independence. And then the whole energy balance of the whole thing, the whole idea of fuel and calories. And then the environmental stewardship, the biggest thing is how does it impact climate change? Of course, we've got transportation, farm production, energy reduction, and increased plant yield. All those things are going to reduce or help in our reduction of CO2. I mean, if we've got bigger leaves, bigger things, it's digesting more CO2, whatever. And then, of course, water quality. You know, we've got the whole idea of less fertilization, less runoff, all those things help our water quality. And what else does it do? I mean, if we're starting to compost it and we're keeping, you know, taking that biochar and we're using a byproduct for manure or something like that to compost it, and we're keeping stuff out of the landfill, wow, there's another thing. So that list could probably get pretty big pretty quick. Again, we just got a short list to just start thinking about these things. So we made this little garden in the back. Marita did. I should say we. I should say Marita did, and I watched her very carefully. You know, so it was very interesting. So she's got a variety of kind of herbs, tomatoes, ornamentals. We wanted kind of a change of things, so there's a few different plants out there. And then throughout the summer, we're going to just, I mean, we're simple. We're not scientists, so don't laugh at us if we're doing something dumb, right? So we used straw bales to keep them drained and keep them the same as each one. So we felt like that would keep the same amount of moisture. Plus, it makes people stop when everybody drives by. They see these hay bales and they see flowers coming out, and then we can sell them a solar system and they stop. So, and it all works, right? So it's good. But anyway, so we've been measuring the pH and the moisture content to see, like, is it changing or what's it doing? You know, because we had all these tests done on the biochar and it said it was supposed to have a liming effect, but we're getting in, it's more acidic, and it's like, is it the straw that's making it acidic? Or it's supposed to be lime? I don't get it. That's for you to figure out. So, so every 2 weeks we're going to just take some pictures. We're going to set up a website, and we're going to have all that stuff on there. There'll be a journal on there that you can look at and see the progress of the plants. A few plants have died, so it is what it is. We stuck a couple more in there. I don't know why they died, but we have some suspicions. So the garden is set up with 0 fertilizer, 70% fertilizer, 100%. Why do we pick 70%? Because everybody says you can use 30% less fertilizer. So we looked at the recommended amount, and we use 70% less on that. We've got 3 bales in the first set, and that's 0 fertilizer and 0 biochar, just standing there by itself doing its thing. And then the next set is 0 fertilizer and biochar. And then the last set is 0 fertilizer and mature biochar. So the mature biochar is from the garden that we had in the fall. So it's kind of tipping over and it's black, and mushrooms grow out of it. No, the mushrooms don't grow out of that. We get lots of mushrooms though. So we've got, if nothing else, we know how to grow mushrooms.
Poisonous ones.
Yeah, I don't know if they're poisonous. Are they poisonous? Yes. I should be eating those. Should have told me that earlier. And then the next set, again, is 70%. So, again, same type of thing. But then we've got our landfill fertilizer that Marita has come up and is brewing in the garage, which is pretty cool, because I got an idea for that, which I'll share with you. So, okay, you'll be my focus group. So you know in Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge, right? Moonshine is a big deal. Is everybody on that old smoky moonshine? So what I'm thinking is we build something that looks like a still in front of severe solid waste, and you can go and get your lychee fertilizer from a still, and it's like the moonshine for plants. Is that not awesome? So I give you a bias now, so I can't get hands. Is that a good idea or a bad? Hands for good. 2, 3 goods, 4. My marketing concept's failing here.
You might have to take it places.
Well, my next idea is we get like a 1930 truck, right? So it's kind of that, is it 30s the moonshine was running? Probably 20s, right? So we get this 20s kind of truck with a water tank on the back, and we paint it up and we make it look, you know, look like hillbilly, right? And so we get contracts with all the hotels, and we spray this moonshine fertilizer on all their ornamentals and their plants, right? So instead of the hotel going, holy cow, here comes the Scots guy. You got to come at midnight. I don't want people to know that we're spraying, you know, some toxic chemical and I want to be green. Well, if we've got the moonshine guy coming to spray, they're going to want us to come in the middle of the afternoon, but it does smell like poop, so I don't know. We'll have to work that out, you know. But that's the story. You want to sell moonshine, right? So, anyway, and so then we've got that 100%. So that's kind of our idea where we're going with that. And then we've got, you know, tomatoes. We planted Brussels sprouts, basil, pepper, oregano, lavender, and pansies. And so, again, we try to get a variety of things that, you know, we're going to grow different heights, they're going to produce different things, and how do they act in this thing. Now, we're not making any kind of claims at all that this is scientific at all. All we're trying to do is build something for you all to help build onto it into something that is meaningful. Does that make sense? You know, this isn't meant to be like this bulletproof science project. It's not. We're not that. But what we can do is give you anecdotal evidence and say, we think this is what's going to happen. I'll tell you one thing that we did learn. Biochar does nothing against rabbits eating pansies. If a rabbit can reach a pansy, biochar or not, there's no discretion there whatsoever. It'll go right down the road. So that's the one thing I can tell you about our garden so far, and I can tell you that emphatically. There's no impact on rabbits. So if you notice our ingredients, though, it's the perfect storm for spaghetti sauce. Guess what is going to end up also in our spaghetti sauce? I'm just saying. The rabbit and I are having a problem with the basil, or not the basil, but the pansies. So we're at odds at this point, but we're going to fight through that. So here it is. This is what we're asking you. We don't know what we don't know. So don't assume that we have any kind of answers or any kind of direction at all. That's why we want you looking at what we're doing to help us understand what we don't know. So we want to ask the right questions. We want to determine the right approach. You know, we can spend a lot of money on doing tests and doing this and doing that, and really come up with nothing meaningful that we can use to really build this case for biochar and how it can be used. We want to really create a study that's relevant, it's meaningful, organized, and then all-encompassing, and that's the key, all-encompassing. It can't be just about the environment. It can't be just about plant productivity. It's got to be all those things. It's got to be economic development, energy independence, and environmental stewardship. So we need help finding the right partners, you know. I mean, thank you for inviting, you know, so, I mean, just one person talks about this and maybe this isn't the right thing for you, but you know somebody else that it is, or maybe you know of a grant that's out there that we should be applying for research to help fund this thing, whatever those things are. We need help in finding those partners, and so that's really the ask. So really what we want you to do is partner with ARiES and try to explore these claims of biochar and the possible impacts on economic development, energy independence, and environmental stewardship. So we really need to define what could be impacted based on these claims. What else could be impacted? There's probably a million things that we haven't even listed or even thought of, or define what to study. Conduct the studies, share all this information. Again, let's bring it back and forth so it's really a solid argument from all angles. We want to build models based on that research, and so we'll have these models to say that economic models, if you're creating your own biochar, or if you're buying biochar, I was trying to throw something in here. That's the way I heard. You didn't bring little sauce. I thought you need another research. Thank you. And then we'd really like to publish these findings across the board any way we can. You know, just get that information out there. Did I go the wrong way? No. So some questions we need to ask is food production What does it do to greenhouse gases? I mean, those big questions. What does it mean to land management? What does it mean to fossil fuel reduction? How is that going to happen? I mean, not just the fertilization, but the transportation. What does it mean for job creation? Is this going to create jobs? Is this something that gives us the ability to create jobs? Or does it take jobs away? What does it do? And then the other thing is markets. See, when you hang around smart people, see, that's really, I'm a C student, but I like to hang around smart people. So I'm sitting at the table and I'm like, this biochar is black. I mean, I can figure that out. Here it is. It's black. And everybody's seen biochar, right? And I'm fiddling with this stuff as I do because I'm trying to keep my mind in the right place. And I'm like, you know, this just looks like charcoal. Guess what? It's got the same BTU value as coal. So you can use that as, I mean, there's no such thing as clean coal, but you can use that as a coal supplement, a drop of coal supplement. It's going to run the same way, but it doesn't have the mercury or the sulfur, or it didn't take 10 zillion years to trade. You don't got people digging in mines and getting black lung and all that stuff. It's all done from our waste. Now, we called somebody up, and this company happens to use a lot of coal. And I said, hey, I've got a bunch of this black stuff that burns just like coal. And this woman happens to be in charge of alternative fuels for this company. And she said, I'll be on the plane the next day. So I think I got something, right? So what does that mean to jobs, and what does that mean to health and safety and all those things? So there's a lot of different markets. Yes, there's an ag market, but maybe there's industrial markets. If it's done right, you get this stuff called activated carbon. So you guys know more about that, but it's got more surface area, and what can we use it for? Filtration. Thank you. So water quality, what does that mean to that? So if you hang around enough smart people, ideas are going to come up, and I think that's what we're trying to do here. So what I'm looking for is questions about what we're trying to do, why you're here, statements about, you know, as long as they're somewhat kind. They don't have to be, just, you can be, and suggestions about what you think we should be doing next. And doubts. I mean, if you think it's the dumbest thing you've ever heard, I want to hear it. I'd rather hear it now than later. And what kind of obstacles do you think that we might have? So it is 2:41, and how many people have to leave like in the next 20 minutes in case your car is blocked? Anybody need access to out? So do you guys want to, and I'll watch the time, kind of. I don't always tell the truth. So, yeah, that's about, I do. I just forget a lot. So, but what do you think, I mean, just in the, I mean, just, yes.
What kind of funding opportunities has ARiES pursued in regards to biochar before and in progress?
We have looked at the basic USDA production grants, and I really haven't found one that fits the category that we need. So, you know, it's like one of the things that I think that we can do, depending on what we're looking at, is, you know, right now, policy is driving people towards wastewater. And so I think we can probably find a lot, maybe for wastewater, that we could do. If we do it with the idea that we're making a product, then we could probably find something through USDA. But other than that, we haven't gotten, you know, really into something that's solid. Like, I'm like, oh, that's it. This is worth the 40 hours or 80 hours it's going to take to apply for that grant. So that said, we're at the very beginning stages, so any suggestions there are hugely helpful. And there may be, like, you know, you all are from the academic world. There's probably all kinds of grants and opportunities that we don't even know exist. So we would love to help work together to get those things done. You know, like I know through Oaks Daylilies, we've got an opportunity at a small scale. We could probably funnel some grants through the USDA grant for products and things like that. We've got to get creative with it, but you know, that's the great thing about having a public-private partnership, and then you throw the academics in there. There's some way we can figure this out.
Harvey, I don't know the details of it, but as I recall from some conversations, Rice University has done a pretty extensive study of uses for biochar. Hundreds of uses for biochar and the values in the market it may pay at the university level to try and make some connections there, see what they come up with.
Yeah, I think Rice, Auburn, Cornell, and Appalachian, right? Has a biochar program now. So, I mean, it's definitely getting in the academic world. UT obviously should lead that work. We should take that over. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way it is. You know, but we can't let some Texans outdo us. You know what I'm saying?
I believe Iowa State has done some work. You know, they've got a big switchgrass and field crops type programs on
USDA itself does a lot of work on bio.
Yep.
Yeah.
We did through the registration process through the IDI. What I understand, you could know much better than I do, is that we can register the biochar with them, and then they'll share results and things like that. And I don't know a whole lot about that program, but yes. Sheree?
I was thinking in terms of I'm sure you all have this down, in terms of the actual process for the creation of the biochar. So we think about end uses and we think about what it could be, but do we have a firm grasp on making sure that we can get to that? There's a smooth flow of getting that waste that we can create and turn into biochar. I'm just thinking about it more.
And that's a huge concern, because I mean, the first thing we do, we've been selling, as you know, we've been selling gasification systems for, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years now. And you know, when we first started out, we sold it with the idea, basically it was a machine. You know, here's what it does. But what we quickly learned is if you can understand the feedstock side of it, the machine doesn't really mean anything. It's understanding how you're going to get the materials to gasify, what the cost is, how well it runs, what its performance is, and you know, is it a consistent source? Once you nail that down, then it all works. You know, but just standing by itself. So yes, you're exactly right.
So as far as the maintaining the product flow, how consistent is the biomass going in? The source?
It just depends on, again, what you do. Like Wamplers, they decided to use switchgrass, so they have contracts with farmers. They know what it is. Wamplers made a very conscious decision to say that I want to create jobs. And so I want to buy my fuel, and I want to make sure it's consistent. I don't want somebody giving me something for free, and then all of a sudden a year down the road decide it's of value and hold that over my head. So they, as a business, made a very conscious decision to do that. So they have these contracts in place. Now, if you go with, you know, the idea of taking advantage of waste streams, then you know, again, it sounds kind of silly, but, you know, I've worked out a deal with a company for their feedstock. If we get this gasification system, I'm being very cagey here, in this other place. But it's a waste stream for them, but I've had them guarantee that they'll supply it to us for 5 years. Because I don't want year one, them all of a sudden going, ooh, guess what, they need this, you know, so right now they're looking at it as, oh, yes, they're saving $10 a ton by giving it to us. That's a good thing for them now. But when they figure out that, oh, I can hold this back, then, you know what I mean? People follow the money stream, right? As you would. So, yes?
I have a question about the nature